Hi there, Jack McLean here, and welcome to Prepare Like a Pro live chats. Prepare Like a Pro is a business that I created earlier in the year. We're a strength and conditioning business working with male and female developing footballers all over the country. We're based in Melbourne, and we specialise at structuring athletic development programs as well as physical preparation for off-season, pre-season and in-season training. Super keen to catch up with Josh Deluca tonight. For those that don't know Josh, he is a Aussie rules footballer. He plays in the VFL for the Boxhill Hawks. Josh made his senior football debut in 2014 for Subiaco in the West Australian Football League, the WAFL, and was a member of their 2014 Grand Final premiership-winning team. He was drafted with a 68 selection in the 2015 national draft to Fremantle, and he played for the Peel Thunder, who also won a premiership in 2016. So he's had plenty of success over in the WAFL. He was then delisted and redrafted twice to Fremantle before making his AFL debut in round 14. Josh was selected in the WAFL state team where he polled up 29 possessions, got a goal and was voted the best player for the day, winning the Simpson medal. And in 2019 was selected with pick 1 in the mid-season AFL draft at Carlton Football Club, where he played 6 games and kicked 4 goals, but unfortunately was delisted by the Blues and now remained in Victoria playing for the Boxhill Hawks. So really keen for this chat. I can't wait to hear Josh's story, and thanks for those that are joining in. If you're listening, feel free to send questions in as well. We'll have a time for Q&A during this chat, so you can send questions by using the question button at the bottom. Here we go. How you going?
I'm very good, thanks. I'm here in Perth now doing my quarantine. I just got here 2 days ago.
All right. Quarantine for the full 14 days, that's still the go?
Well, I think so. We'll find out. But yeah, the day after we got here, they announced that you don't have to quarantine from the 8th of December, which is relatively annoying. But yeah, we'll probably stay in lockdown past that date. But it's okay.
Yeah, right. Oh, this might be your first live chat, but you might be doing a few. Maybe it's a new segment about to start. The Josh Deluca Show.
I'm definitely spending a lot of time on Instagram, that's for sure.
Oh, thanks for joining us, mate. We'll crack straight in. A few people are starting to join us. If you're listening, don't leave it all to me to ask the questions for Josh. Feel free to send through some questions. We'll have some time for Q&A later on. But take us back to the beginning, mate. Really keen to hear your story. What age were you when you first started playing footy and as a junior? And then when did you recognise that it was going to be a profession for you?
I started playing like most kids, I think, in Auskick when I was probably about 5 years old or something like that. But it wasn't really until I was a bit older. I didn't go to like a footy school at all, really. But I just played like juniors, like any normal kid. And it wasn't until I got picked into the WA state team as a 15-year-old, and then that was state schoolboys. And then the state 16s is when it's more an AFL academy, and that's when I probably realised that, okay, well, I'm in the top 50 or so kids in my age group in the state. And so it made me think maybe it's something I can pursue and maybe have a crack at it. And so from then on, it was really like, that's what I want to do. I still wanted to get into university and have that in the background, but it was definitely a goal of mine.
And what did you, when you had that shift, realisation that, this is something I'm talented with the best top tier players in the state, did you change how you went about it at the age of 15, 16, or was it more just it was a goal that you sort of set in your head, an ambition?
Yeah, so I felt that I was growing up, I was always like, I think I always blame my dad, but I think it was the way I got taught how to kick the football was just like not correct. Like I used to hold it so weird, and I had a really weird technique, and the same as my dad's technique, actually. But one thing I did do in preparation for getting into my draft year was I had a manager at the time, Andrew McDougall, and he sought out a kicking coach. And I did that through, it was actually an ex-WAFL legend, his name's Murray Cooper. And I used to do kicking training with him once a week, which really helped. It really helped me just simplify my field kicking, goal kicking. But, I'm definitely not a perfect kick, and anyone who knows me as a football player would probably understand that, but it definitely helped going into that next level, and the amount of pressure that you put under and the time and space that you have, you really need to be able to execute. So it was something that I'm pretty grateful that my dad and my manager were able to help me out with, which was, it was really good in the end.
Yeah, fantastic. So you had a coaching session once a week with Andrew, was it? Sorry?
With Murray Cooper. Andrew was my manager, but I did that for a couple months, I think, leading up to, I was like 17, going into my 18th year. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, fantastic. And were there like homework sessions that you did as well behind the scenes, or was it all the work was done with the coach?
No, there was no homework. I guess the only homework you ever did was really learning the game plan of wherever you were playing at the time. Once I got to Fremantle, there was genuine homework to learn the game plan, actual written tests that we did on the game plan. Yeah, it was very intense.
Yeah, I can imagine. So quizzes on the game plan?
Like written tests. We'd do all different types. So it'd be like a ball use quiz, and that'd be like all these questions on how we want to use the ball, or our team defence, or stoppage setups. That were the three main ones. Wow, cool. Interesting. Yeah, I was blown away because I came from Subiaco and the WAFL, and it was more like just play with flair and just get the ball and do. It wasn't much like, I guess as a 17-year-old, it wasn't really too structured as like I had more of an understanding, but I didn't at the time. So this was like a real big wake-up call to me. Learning what this is must be what AFL is like, and to be a professional footballer you need to really know everything about the game plan. Yeah, fantastic. That's awesome. And good for people to hear as well that no matter how well you're prepared, there's going to be new things that you've got to adapt along the journey. Were there strong, you've mentioned probably a few already, but were there other, whether it be family, coaches, anyone along the way that either mentored you or were strong influences on your career? Yeah. Definitely. And like any footballer, you're going to have a lot of different people who influence you throughout your career. My career is certainly far from over. I'm only 24, so I'm probably still going to have more people that influence me. But yeah, I think growing up, it was definitely my old man. He was a massive part of my interest in football. And as a kid, he was very competitive and just one of the best for me, and just loved football. So he really helped me and used to guide me as a kid. But as I got a bit older and you get into these more serious competitions and systems, in terms of coaching, I really found on an intimate level, Jared Schofield, he was my coach at Subiaco Lions in the WAFL. He's now the assistant, the midfield coach at Port Adelaide. But he just, I think he instilled a lot of confidence in me, and that was something that I definitely struggled with, especially my time at Fremantle, coming back to the WAFL. Yeah, you get to a point sometimes when you're not making the team and you're not getting a game, or you just feel like you're not good enough, and you start questioning yourself, and that sort of sense of confidence just like goes, and it really affects your football. If you don't play with confidence, you're really not going to take risks. You're not going to take the game on. You're going to be a bit of a black and white player. It's not going to really get you anywhere. And so I think going back to the WAFL after Fremantle, Jared was just really helpful in that, and just gave me a license to sort of do what I thought was required. And it really paid dividends in the end. It ended up getting picked up by Carlton. But in terms of players, I think I've had two really good ones. Matt DeBoer, he's at GWS now. If I want someone to talk about me as a footballer that has played with me, if they said the sort of traits that I thought that Matt had, I'd be very happy. I like to think that he's just the epitome of what a leader should be. And he's not all about skill and being the best player, but it's all about hard work and standards and accountability to your teammates. And I think that was really influential. I was with him at Fremantle. Another one was the captain of Subiaco, was Kyle Horsley. He was on Gold Coast list for a couple of years, and now he's just retired from the WAFL. He's a development coach with the Eagles now, which is great for him. But he was a massive influence on just breeding our culture there at Subiaco. And like I said before, like setting standards and just leading the way on how you should behave and act as a leader in a club and on the field. So and manage as well. He was just an insanely smart footballer. So that's fantastic. My main influences, mate. Yeah, awesome. And am I right in saying you were part of 4 premierships during your time? Yeah, man, I've been very lucky. That's crazy. I couldn't believe it. I was reading that. It was like year after year every time you come back into the league. It was actually my 5th year of WAFL senior football was my 4th premiership. So there was 1 year when I first got drafted to Fremantle where I was at Peel, but I was injured. Peel didn't make finals. So that was the 1 year I didn't get to play in finals, but all the other 4 were grand finals. And that's amazing. It might have been 5 if Carlton didn't pick me up. Subiaco went on to win that grand final last year. Last year. So that's could have been 5. I was pretty grateful. I got the opportunity to play with Carlton. Yeah, that was in the mid-season draft, wasn't it, that year? So you're playing with them at the time. Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, okay. Geez, that's crazy. 5 out of 6. I mean, 4 out of 5 is incredible. Is there something that you've got? I know you're a leader now at Boxhill. Is there things that you've learnt in terms of whether it be culture or team focuses? You mentioned strong leadership before with guys that have had a big influence on you from an individual level, but from these successful teams, are there traits, or is every team a bit different
Did you get a sense after a couple that you're like, well, we've got something special at this club that we can go all the way, or is it hard to read?
I think when you're with a good team, I think one thing that really sticks out to me is that training is just as hard as a game. Like, if you don't train the way you're going to play, then I feel like you're wasting your time a bit. When you drop the egos, when you take the egos out of a team, and everyone, it doesn't matter if you've been there 10 years or 2 or 1, you're all there to compete and earn a spot in the team, and nothing's just given. I think a good culture and a good team, that's sort of in play. You're not just going to get a game just based on your name or what you've done in the past. So, yeah, I've really noticed that in those successful clubs I've been at.
Yeah, awesome. So it's got to be earned. And does that start, I don't know if you've heard about, it seems like a trend in the game, timing your run type of thing. Like, how do you juggle that hard work and dedication and, that grit and time you run at the same time in terms of freshness, because it is such a long competitive year?
Yeah.
Like, you've been in the game now for a few years, you've got plenty more years ahead of you. How do you manage that element?
Well, there's a famous saying that it goes around all footy clubs, there's no premierships won in round 1. So, having a strong pre-season is great, but I think I've learned in the past that going too hard in pre-season can really blow you out, burn you out before you've even begun, and then you find way through the season you can really be struggling or your body starts to break down. I noticed that in 2017, I was diagnosed with osteitis pubis in April, and so we'd just done this long pre-season and I just absolutely killed myself. And I was running through these, and I was in the best condition I've ever been in, I would have thought. But it just wasn't feasible for a whole season, and it really cost me. It sat me out 12 weeks, and the season just begun.
Yeah, it's a nasty injury.
So, like, when you say timing your run, you don't have – the premierships aren't won in the pre-season in round 1. But as the season goes on, there's no real thought between the players of, like, you're not going to go as hard as you would later in the year. It's nothing like that, definitely not. But in terms of your own body and maintenance, like, I think, a good pre-season is great, but you don't want to kill yourself. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, that's a really good message, I think, particularly for young players when you're wanting to prove yourself, and whether it be, like you mentioned earlier, when you're in and out of the team and you think you need to be working harder, and if you're in that space or you're just in a developing space, when you're working on your physical side, it can be really easy to overwork yourself.
That was exactly me. It was my 3rd year of Fremantle. I was getting close to getting a game, but I hadn't yet. So I was really pushing hard to get a game and stand out. And I was doing really well in the preseason, but it cost me because then I just got injured. But like, it's hard for a younger kid who just wants to impress and be noticed. But I guess the bigger picture is that you got to look after your body too.
Yeah, and I guess there's nothing wrong. Injuries are going to happen in the sport like footy. And to some degree, you almost need to learn through your own experience, don't you? Like, people will tell you things until you have your own experience, then you do take it on a bit. So it's all part of the journey, I'm sure. But if you can learn off old,
Yeah. I mean, people can tell you, but as a kid, if you've never gone through it before, you're just gonna be like, I'll be fine. I'm invincible. I've never had that problem before. I'm just gonna go as hard as I can.
Yeah.
Did I just see? Is that Stephen Hill joined?
Stephen Hill 3-2.
If that is Hilly, how you going, mate?
Looking for some entertainment from you, mate. On that note, who are these boys?
Chris Field, and we won a couple of premierships together in Subiaco.
Got the stick face going. On that note, with off-season, and now we're getting into pre-season, what is a focus of yours, like right now in terms of this year? What's a successful pre-season look like?
Well, I think like everyone, you want to get your running in, and that's just a given, I would have thought. But I think the main thing that people just sort of neglect sometimes is things like kicking, agility, and your strength training, your weights. Like you would have seen, I'm sure, in your time as S&C, people come back from off-season and the quad injuries from not having kicked. And then it's like, great, can run in a straight line forever. But it's the repeat sprints, it's the change of direction, getting tackled and getting back up, physical contact. So if you haven't done your strength training, it's going to hurt a lot more. You're more inclined to do a soft tissue. So, they're the sort of things I just really try and make sure I tick off while I'm in the off-season, and then obviously the running program that's given to you.
Yep. And 2020, not being able to play, that must have had its set of challenges. Like, what was a way that you sort of kept yourself motivated, I guess, or how did you cope with the year of not playing?
Matt, this is the first time I've ever had a year of not playing footy since I was a kid, and it's really been hard. Like, I feel like it's a massive loss of identity, and that camaraderie that you have with your mates and at footy and playing each week, it's just a big hole, and in your life. But I think with training, I think like most people who went through it in Victoria, we couldn't even go outside and we could only do a little bit of exercise a day. I think two things that were probably the most challenging were maintaining motivation, like seeing the bigger picture, and like it's always hard telling yourself like, well, I'm not playing until probably April next year. Like what am I going to smash myself today for? And like, it's a real hard like balancing act. You've got other things going on. You might have work or family stuff or whatever, but maintaining that motivation was key. And I think I found as soon as we could get outside and be with other people, I found I caught up with Damien Mercedes, the skipper at Boxhill, and we'd go out and do our running together. I think that helped heaps. When you have someone else to do it with, you push each other a bit more and you get your kicking in as well, which is a lot better. I think the other thing a lot of people would have struggled with, and I certainly did at times, was not having the equipment available to do like strength training. I've seen your setup, mate, and it's absolutely incredible. It looks like a world-class gym, but not everyone has that luxury. I mean, a lot of people, there was a time there where I ended up getting some equipment from Boxhill's gym, which was fantastic, but there was a time that I thought I was just withering away. I hadn't done much weights. It's all body weight exercises, and I was just like, oh my God, what's going on here? I didn't have scales at home. I probably lost a couple of kilos and I was getting worried. But other than that, man, we've gotten through. There's a bit of light at the end of the tunnel and training's coming back. So, yeah, I mean, we all got through and we all had to go through it. So, like, I'm not the only one, so I can't really complain.
And I guess you'd have a greater, when you say like you hadn't missed a year since, how old were you? So 5, I guess, not Oz kicks.
Yeah, 5. So I honestly never had a season-ending injury, but I haven't not played football in this long for a long time. I would be interesting to see how it'd go in a game right now. It would be this massive challenge.
Does it add an element of appreciation and hunger for it, or is it more just it does? Yeah,
big time.
Yeah, cool.
Definitely. And it's amazing how much some days you like. I don't care who you are. Every single football player would have days where they're like, "Oh my God, how am I going to get through training tonight or today?" And then when you haven't got it, you're just like, "Wow, I actually really miss going to training." And even though if you do have those big hard sessions, it just becomes a part of you. And really miss it. Really looking forward to really having a good crack and getting really like fit again would be really nice. And then playing football games.
Playing games. I mean, that was the hardest part too. It was just practice, just had a lick of the ice cream in terms of practice matches, and the pre-season was done. And then yoink, season, get going again, and then yoink, taken away.
Been contracted with Boxhill for over a year now and played half a game of one practice match. So
absolutely. Blue has sent Josh, what was the best thing that you learnt from your career in AFL?
The best thing I learnt from my career.
And while Josh is thinking as well, for guys listening, feel free to use the question button. You can use the comment like Bluey has, or you can send us a question through by using the question button at the bottom.
I think I sort of alluded to it before, but I think one of the best things I've learned is one thing a lot of players would probably come out of the draft, and the young players would probably think there's a level of expectation and that an entitlement that you should be in playing, and you've been picked at this number and you should get a game here, and getting gifted games and stuff. I think in the AFL, I've really been taught the value of earning a spot and I guess hard work. And it's something that's, I guess it's a bit generic, but it translates into everything you do in your life, whether it's work, university or anything. It's, I don't know, if you do the basics well and you really work hard, you'll get results. And so I think that's something I really learned. But in detail, I guess it'd be the actual game of football itself, being in an AFL environment where you've got meetings all the time and you really review your game plan quite significantly. You've learned the game quite well, and you can take it across to any team you're playing in, really. But they're all relatively similar but have little differences. But actually learning the game of football itself was something I've taken out of it as well.
Yeah, well answered, mate. Maddie has sent through another question as well. What's your advice on a teenager trying to prove themselves and eventually represent Victoria Vic Metro?
I just try to think back to when I was a teenager. I think it's recognise your strengths and your weaknesses. That's really important, and then really work hard on maintain your strengths. Always show your strengths when you're at training and when you're in a trial or trying to impress, because that's what's going to get you noticed. If you're really fast, or if you've got really good skills, or I don't know, if you're really strong and you tackle well, you have to bring them. You have to be able to show them, because otherwise they might not notice you. And then I think once you recognise what your weaknesses are, figure out how you're going to improve them and what you can do to get better, because no one's a perfect player and you always want to be developing. And I think recruiters and selectors would really value and appreciate players who they can see that want to improve and develop their game and have the maturity to recognise those weaknesses that they might have. So yeah, that's probably what I'd do.
Yeah, that's great advice, mate. I would have to say, out of all these chats, it's been most consistent theme is the focus on your strengths and showcasing that and focusing on your energy. I guess it is a common trait, isn't it? Like to focus too much time on your weaknesses in a sense and attach yourself to that, where it's empowering to focus on your strengths, isn't it? It's motivating and you still top up your weaknesses over time. But It's such a great message. Love it.
Definitely neglect your strengths in aim to just try to get better at the things that you're not the greatest at already.
Yeah, yep. This one's from Callum. What sort of diet? And this will be the last one and then we'll wrap it up as well after this. Have you had dinner already or you?
No, I haven't. It's 4:30 over here in Perth, so...
Oh, of course. Plenty of time. What sort of diet would you suggest for a 14-year-old who wants their best performance? What are some things that you've learned along the way that have helped from a nutrition point of view that you've changed?
I mean, at 14, I can't say diet was the biggest impact on my football at all. You want to learn good habits early, which is like eating, having a balanced diet with your proteins and carbs and your vegetables. But I can't say that when I was 14 running out for a game, I was doing my carb loading or I was making sure I was getting protein in after a weight. I don't even know how much weights I was doing at 14. But I think if I offer a 14-year-old any advice, is establish good habits early. Like minimise real bad foods, like real junk foods, like your takeaway. But other than that, as you go up the ranks, I think you get into systems and they have dietitians on board, and that's where you really learn and take more of an